Welcome to the Farm to School podcast, where you will hear stories of how youth thrive and farmers prosper when we learn how to grow, cook, and eat delicious, nutritious local foods in schools across the country
and the world. Hey, everybody. We're your hosts. I'm Rick.
And I'm Michelle. And literally today, we have a farm to schooler from across the world. We're so excited.
Yeah, we have Jennie Devine. I'll let her introduce herself, but she is all the way from England. Jennie, where in England are you at?
Hi, everybody. So I am the education manager for the National Farmers Union in England, and I'm based right in the very middle in Coventry.
Coventry.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennie, for joining us from so far away.
Tell us a little bit about Coventry. Paint us a picture of, is that kind of rural? How far away is it from London, which is all we know about, it seems like?
That's all Rick knows.
Okay, I'll try and fill you in. I'll give you a perspective on the Midlands. So the NFU, we're based in Stoneleigh, which is a really small sort of village in the Midlands, and Coventry is kind of like a city very close to that. So that's where I'm calling from today. We can get to London on the train in about an hour. You can drive it in about 2. Coventry itself is not at all rural; it's a city. But then the Midlands is quite rural. So like Warwickshire there's a lot of farms around here. Okay.
And just to for our viewers who is wondering what was going on in my brain here, I actually was doing some Googling of farm to school across the world. You know, that's what I do in my spare time. Like, gee, what's farm to school like in Japan? What's it like in Australia? What's it like in England? And I came across your name and your website, and we had an email chain, and we've been talking, and it's like we all know about farm to school in the United States. And but it's literally quite foreign to us. Obviously, like across the pond in England, we were talking about not only farm to school, buying local and school gardens, but we have our national school lunch program. Now, what's your lunch program? Do you have a lunch program in England? What's that like?
We have a similar thing. So we have free school meals for all primary school children from age 4 to 7. So Key Stage 1 children all have free school lunches. And then after that, it's means tested. So similar to you, it's dependent on the family's income. Okay.
And so when we were talking about your what you do. What is it? How do you do programming for farm to school, like education and things like that? What is your role in the company that you work for, and how do you?
Okay, so I work for the National Farmers Union, so we represent farmers and growers across England and Wales, and we are entirely funded through their membership fees. So we don't get any sort of external funding from government or anything. We're funded by our members purely because they believe so strongly in the importance of educating the future generation about where their food comes from. So we were set up 7 years ago to communicate directly with schools and teachers. I have a teaching background, as do I work in a team of 3. My colleagues do too. And our audience is communicating directly with children, school-age children, but through teachers. So designing educational opportunities for teachers to deliver in the classroom in order to reach the children that way.
And you were telling me too that you reach all across England, not only England, but Scotland, Wales, and you even have a partnership with people in Canada. Is that right?
Yes, we do. Yeah. So obviously our primary audience is England and Wales, because obviously that's where our membership is. But a lot of our live lessons are watched across the world. We can see where the watchers are, and we have viewers all over the place who have just like sort of like you, just like come across our work online and then joined in with the live lessons. So yeah, the reach is far greater than that.
And Jenny, you mentioned the focus being the teachers. Can you describe a little more, like how do you engage the teachers? How do you recruit them? What do you actually do with them?
So here we're really focused on, we have a national curriculum that maintained schools have to follow. And then, so the curriculum is really full, and teachers are like extremely overworked. They've got a lot that they have to fit in, like statutory content that they have to fit in into their weeks. And food and farming doesn't feature on that very strongly at all. There's a very, very small amount of content on it. And so it often just gets pushed down and forgotten about because it's not externally assessed and it's not given very high importance on the national curriculum. We are trying to change this, but that's the current situation, is that it's not. So in order to reach the sort of teacher numbers that we reach, the way that we've done that is by linking everything, all of the messaging that we want to deliver, all of the activities that we do are linked really tightly to the STEM subjects, so the science, the technology, engineering, the maths that's on the national curriculum. We link it in really tightly with those objectives that the teachers have to deliver anyway. And I deliver it, so I do that by designing engaging activities for the children to do. It's useful for the teachers because they're ticking off their STEM objectives that they have to teach anyway and saving them time and workload. And then it's also delivering the messaging about food and farming that the membership and that we want them to know about. So it's kind of a kind of triple win, a win for everybody. That's how we've been successful, is by linking it that way. Because it's all well and good kind of creating like lovely farming resources, but if they're not linked to the national curriculum, teachers won't pick them up and use them because they're just they're far too busy trying to deliver the stuff they've got to teach.
And then when you say providing them resources, what kind of suite of materials do you have, or kits, or like what are you providing teachers?
So it's not kits. Just so the way that we've done it to try and have as much reach as possible is we do. So we have a program called Farming STEMterprise, and that sits on the website. Teachers can download it and then they can deliver it in their classroom. So it's a multi-step STEM, interdisciplinary STEM project that's differentiated for each of the primary school year groups. So in theory, they could be doing one each year as they go through primary school. It's really tightly linked to the national curriculum, and it basically takes the children through sort of a product development cycle. They grow their own food, they learn about all the science involved in that, then they develop a product using using the food that they've grown. Then they do all the maths around that, they work out profit, and then they actually make their product and do all the kind of marketing element of that as well. But it's all, so it's a really nice sort of like cohesive cross-curricular project for the children to do. So that's free to download. It sits on our website, and that's been really, really well received by teachers. But then the big thing that's had the really, really big reach is since lockdowns, we started doing live lessons. So they, again, we use we live stream them out through our website. And the idea is giving children access to people, places, role models, careers, concepts that they wouldn't ever usually be able to encounter in their classroom. So, for example, I've just delivered a series called Science Farm Live. We link that always to British Science Week is a week that's celebrated in primary schools across the country. So it's a really good opportunity to kind of get into primary schools by offering teachers something that they need to do something for British Science Week. We give them an idea of what they could do. I just did a series called, so for the older children, it was called Amazing Adaptations Day, because the theme was on the theme that the British Science Week organisers decided for this year was change and adaptation. So I linked the series to that. So we did Amazing Adaptation Day for the older children, and I took them. They met 14 different role models, ranging from various different farmers and growers across the country. But we also met soil scientists. We met a plant physiologist. We went and we compared and contrasted two different breeds of cattle. We met some belted Galloway cows with a cow geneticist, and then we also went to a college, an agricultural college, and met the keeper that looked after the zebus, and there's only 17 of them in the country, so that was kind of a really nice selling point. So I try and basically make it as exciting and as pacey as possible, so they're not kind of just passively kind of watching telly, they're kind of interacting with us as well, so I can ask them questions, and then we use a online tool so the children can put their answers into they can feed their answers back in, and then we can see them and comment on them. And obviously there's hundreds of thousands of children watching all at the same time, so you can't comment individually, but it's quite nice to give that level of interactivity. So that's been the thing that's given us the most success. We had 437,000 pupils join that series in 1 week last month.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was crazy.
Wow.
You must be doing something right, because I was looking and doing my research on your Science Farm Live. It said, at the time, it's probably even increased, but it says 1.5 million kid viewers. So, wow.
Yeah, that was in total from when we started in lockdown. But then this year, the previous record of the number of children that we've had in a single series was 275. So to have got 437,000 was totally unexpected. But I did put a lot of effort into like driving all over the country to film exciting people and things.
That's amazing. And do you do this? You mentioned your organization, but do you work in network or partnerships with other organizations or governments?
We will collab sometimes with different organisations on projects, but no, Science Farm Live is entirely an NFU project. It's me and my team, and we're really lucky because the membership are so supportive. So we've got this really brilliant network of ambassadors, because we have another programme where we actually send farmers into schools to speak to children and deliver assemblies. And we have a network of 350 ambassadors that have all come and done the training with us to do that. And they give up their time to do it. And basically, if we need to film something that's exciting and I've got an idea for kind of a storyline where I want to go and like film a blueberry harvest or film a belted Galloway or film something, we have such a great network of farmers that are just that are always willing to help us or introduce us to someone who will help us, find the content that we need.
That's amazing.
So that's another kind of,
And so
we're really lucky. They're so helpful.
This is so inspiring. And so you mentioned you have the whole network of ambassadors. Do you train the ambassadors then in education?
So we do, but we have the 350 ambassadors. We basically bring them in. They come to a training day. We do training days at 2 different points across the year. So we've got the next one coming up next month. So we'll be doing them in 4 different points around England and Wales. They come for the whole day, and we basically spend all day talking to them about what makes a good presentation, how to engage young people. We only want them to do a presentation that's like 20 minutes, but even a 20-minute presentation to 300 secondary school children is very daunting for anybody, even for people that have done it before. So we give them an opportunity to really craft their 20-minute presentation, so that we've gone through it with them, and we've put it together in a sort of standardized format, but then helps them to pull it together so that it's engaging, but also delivering sort of the messages that they want to get across. So we work with them on that all day. They get a chance to workshop it, to kind of practice delivering it, pull it apart a little bit with their peers, and then we always send them in pairs to deliver those assemblies at first. So they've got the moral support of having like a buddy with them.
This is so innovative and impactful. When you were developing this, did you look to other models? What was your inspiration for creating this?
I can't remember actually, to be honest. It was in response to we were getting members telling us about how other organisations have been going in and delivering assemblies. So sometimes schools will accept like an assembly from a vegan organisation, for example, and they won't necessarily be fact checking it or basically basing it on sort of our food system. So we wanted to have an opportunity to get in front of the young people, offer members an opportunity to get in front of the young people and sort of tell their own story. And also a big aim of that project as well is to put a face to farming, so that it's not the stereotype of old MacDonald. It's an old white man. He's got one chicken, one cow, and one sheep. We wanted to put real farmers into schools so that they could engage with them as real people and give them a chance to tell their story.
Just to shift a little bit and let's talk challenges. I know you and I had a discussion before, and we're very fortunate in the States. At times, we've had funding through the federal level or the state level in terms of grants for farm to school. It's starting to be a big thing. How do you get things funded there in England?
As far so from our perspective, we get absolutely no government funding at all for our projects. There isn't government funding for this kind of work. So we're in the really fortunate position because our membership believe in the project, so they fund it. Our members believe in the projects that we're doing so much, so they're the ones that are funding it. Hugely believe that the work is important, and I think the government should be funding it. Currently they're not. We are trying to change this.
Yeah, can we talk about that a little more too? We're very similar situation in teachers and even school counselors and others in the school environment have so many different things to be doing at any given time. Being literate in agriculture, food, and the environment hasn't been a priority. So very similarly to like the creative aspects of turning education, agricultural education or school garden education into tying it to STEM has been an approach as well. And I'm just curious what your policy approaches have been, maybe of you or just what's happening in England.
So basically, up until sort of right now, the tide is changing a little bit. Basically, trying to change the national curriculum has not really been an option up until very recently. So we've just had the new government have come in and they've straight away launched a review into the curriculum and the assessment system in the UK. So this is the first opportunity that we've had to actually try and push for some change. In the past, we kind of knew that that wasn't going to happen. We weren't going to get curriculum changes. So the strategy was, as you said, like tie it to the STEM curriculum that's already there, make those links for the teachers and get it in sort of by stealth.
And then that's the lunch program. And then the other part of Farm to School being the school garden aspect, like on school site or community garden, hands-on experiences students have. What's happening in that realm?
Again, that's sort of down to there's no requirement for anything like that to be provided for in schools. So it's because of the lack of importance given to it on the primary curriculum, it just tends to not happen unless there's a specific, very keen member of staff who's willing to sort of push it through and kind of lead on it. It's particularly when I was a teacher, we had amazing grounds, we had a copse, we had a pond, but because we were under so much pressure to deliver the curriculum and deliver the sort of the externally assessed subjects, the children in the school very rarely got an opportunity to use any of these facilities, just because of the amount of time available in the curriculum, in the timetable.
Jennie, you and your organization have already had so much impact and innovation, and I'm just curious, what are you thinking about for the future?
So we've just launched a really exciting new project that I am particularly passionate about. So the agricultural sector is the least diverse, racially and ethnically diverse sector in the UK. And this really kind of weighs on me that we are the worst in the whole of the UK. So we've designed a programme and we're to sort of try to take a long-term view to start addressing that and to bring about meaningful change in this space and bring more diversity and inclusion to our sector. So the idea is we are recruiting, it's a scholarship programme, an AgriFutures scholarship programme, It will run for 5 years, and the idea is that we'll be recruiting 24 young people who are in year 9, so they're age 14 at the moment. They will be and anyone who's selected for the scholarship, initially they'll be coming away with us for a residential experience in August this year. That will be, we're hosting it on with a outward bound charity. So in addition to getting lots of hands-on farm experience, they'll also be doing lots of outward bound sort of team building, resilience building activities as well. And then we're also going to be bringing lots of role models for fireside chats, lots of opportunities to do workshops and things. We'll be implementing them into our the residential week. But then obviously we don't want to just do 1 week. We want to be repeating those residential experiences every year with the same cohort of young people as they move through their secondary school sort of career. So by the time they get to 18 and they're making a decision about where they're going to go and what sort of career they want to pursue, they will have had those annual residential experiences. But then in between, we're creating a bespoke mentoring program. So they're all going to be paired up with a mentor who's from a similar background to themselves, and they'll be given opportunities to attend events and networking and have work experience opportunities and doors open for them basically within the sector, so that by the time these young people reach 18, their CV will have been built, so they will have had all of these sort of brilliant career related experiences of the sector, so that hopefully they could choose to do any sector, but we're hoping that they'll then come and join ours at that point, or at least some of our young people will. So that's our kind of new exciting program that we're launching, have just launched.
That's incredibly exciting. You had mentioned focus on career development, and that is very tangible. And I imagine in just such an informative time in life, we really look forward to seeing how that unfolds.
So yeah, the research shows that if you want young people to sort of consider your industry, you need to start as early as possible with the careers education. So I build careers education into all of our programs, but this is a really sort of targeted program for these 24 young people.
I'm curious too, one of the areas of increased attention has been around social emotional learning and mental health connections related to food, agriculture, and garden-based education. What is the conversation like in your area?
There is some really good, we don't really get involved in that per se, but there's some brilliant charities in the UK that do the sort of the care farming element really, really well. But again, it's not government funded. They're either charities or they're organisations that seek funding elsewhere. But there is excellent work that goes on with that. I went and saw a brilliant example of a farm that they take young people in small groups on, and they do like a whole week of work with them on a farm. And it's just, the impact of just the 1 week is so incredible that you can have on these young children.
Jennie, thank you so much for sharing all your inspiration and also specific ways that you are thinking about for the future. We'd also like to thank everyone for listening today.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Farm to School was written, directed, and produced by Rick Sherman and Michelle Markiston, and was made possible by a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture.
The content and ideas on the Farm to School podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Oregon State University, Oregon Department of Education, and the United States Department of Agriculture. The USDA, Oregon Department of Ed, and Oregon State University are equal opportunity providers and employers.
Do you want to learn more about Farm to School? Check out other episodes, show notes, contact information, and much more by Googling Farm to School Podcast OSU.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you. Please stop by and give us ideas for a future podcast. And Jennie, thank you again.
Thank you, Jennie.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye, everyone. And special thanks to Leanne Locker of Oregon State University for production support. Thanks, Leanne.